And after initially appearing calamitously flat-footed, the government last year moved swiftly to legislate in favour of allowing medicinal cannabis to be provided in certain cases. High-profile campaigns featuring heartbreaking stories, such as those of Billy Caldwell and Alfie Dingley, gave them little option. Compelling medical research suggests conditions such as epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, PTSD, severe bowel conditions and many, many other ailments can be successfully treated using medicinal cannabis. Now, in some instances, youngsters who can endure up to 100 seizures a day enjoy total respite. Therefore, this can be chalked up to a government listening and acting swiftly for the betterment of its citizens. Regrettably, no. Former lecturer Carly Barton became the first person in the UK to be prescribed medicinal cannabis. That was on December the 2nd. She says she's still waiting to receive it. Next week, a documentary on the famous Gogglebox couple, Dom and Stephanie Parker's son Max, who is 18, but has a mental age of 6, is broadcast. And again, experts say the condition he suffered with since the age of 4 could be helped. There's no pun intended, but isn't it high time the government provided rather than promised?
OK, Nick, I'm an ambassador for a company who actually deals with CBD.
Oh, OK.
My interest in it is the medicinal qualities that it's helping soldiers with PTSD, and we're actually working with soldiers in Brighton at the moment to see what it can do.
Yes.
I do believe that the reason this is being so screwed in and clamped down upon is that the pharmaceuticals, the big ones, are bricking themselves.
Right.
They must be thinking to themselves, look at this, it's curing everything we know.
You don't think they could make it and get into it and make it?
No, and this is my second point. So the second point is, I do believe that doctors should be able to prescribe it and experts should be able to prescribe it, and I do believe it should be more widely used.
Yes.
I also believe that you have to get the right quality of stuff. Now, the company I represent, it's all organic, you know, it's tested properly.
If you
and all that sort of
work
stuff.
with a soldier, what do you see happen to him or her?
It calms down nerves, it takes out stress. This is not. They've taken out the part of this stuff that's the addictive part.
The
The honking bits, because I absolutely hate drugs on any capacity. I don't like going up your nose. I don't like smoking. I hate the stuff. Right?
Okay.
I really do.
And you can't drink it.
This stuff here, this stuff here is coming in many forms, and it's doing some great stuff. And the studies being taken in America and places like that at the moment suggest this is going to be a big thing, and it's going to work, and it's going to help a lot of people. And when I say help a lot of people, the soldiers that I'm seeing with PTSD, it's calming them down, it's taking away the nightmares, it's helping them sleep, it's giving them a better quality of life. So let's get it out there.
But do they get hooked?
No, they don't get hooked. There's nothing to suggest they get hooked.
Okay.
But if you think that stopping it's going to give me a worse night's sleep, I'd sooner he was hooked.
You're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the choir, honestly.
All right, okay, I'm having a go at you like you're having a go at me. But I'm quite passionate about this CBD stuff because I do believe it's going to make a huge difference.
And I'm on the same page. I'm on the same page.
So the change in the law says that 80,000 specialist doctors are now licensed to prescribe it. But they don't want to do it, and they don't want to do it for one very simple reason, is because there's no infrastructure in place to protect them if it goes wrong. So,
what do you mean goes wrong? Goes wrong in what way, Carol?
Because if they prescribe it to someone and something happens to that person, because let's face it, there have been let me just tell you. Well, I'll explain if you just listen for a second. It's because these doctors are saying there have been no medical trials, as there are with other drugs, done on cannabis. So yes, while there are,
everyone's been smoking it for years. We all know it doesn't do anything.
But would you like to take the chance? These doctors are saying if something happens, it's a legal minefield for them.
In fairness to Carol, they did say thalidomide would help pregnant mums, and that was one of the biggest scandals this country's ever endured, in fairness.
And so many doctors will not prescribe it.
Let's have a look at Carly Barton's reaction first before I come in on this, because she was delighted when she got a prescription.
I'm over the moon. I'm overjoyed that this has happened, that this piece of paper exists. It will mean that I am not concerned about having to consume my medicine when I'm out the house. I'm not going to have to look over my shoulder to worry if there's police there, security there.
So like I did with Afwa's topic, I want to broaden this out a bit and say I've been an advocate for the decriminalisation of all drugs.
You're going further than medicinal use, just to remind the viewer.
On the Portugal model, crime dropped, drug-related deaths fell. But to be specific, there is a difference between
decriminalisation. Keep using that. That's been regarded as a failure, the Portugal model.
There is a difference between decriminalisation and legalisation.
Yeah.
So what I mean by decriminalisation is that people who are addicted should be treated through the health system and not through the criminal justice system. As for weed, I advocate it should be legalised. And that's where I think so many scare stories around weed.
I think this is what's putting people off, because when people like you say weed, everybody's just got a picture of someone mashed up in the corner of a great big weed. We don't want that image. We want an image of a nice...
Can I just reveal the last sentence? The science is quite clear at the moment with multiple studies done that actually on the adult brain there are no long-term effects.
That is not true. That is simply not true. There are lots of studies that say... Just before going, because you said... I'll say it really, really briefly. You said before what can go wrong. I'll tell you what can go wrong. Lots of studies have been done with kids in particular, and the side effects are...
That's why I said adult brain.
Well, listen, nausea, vomiting, fever, fatigue.
That's why you don't give it...
It's fair to say there are conflicting studies.
There aren't conflicting
I need to
studies.
tell you what the NHS says, because this topic involves some allegations about the NHS not making it available easily. And the NHS says, as with any new medicine where there is the need to build an evidence base, the NHS's normal medicines governance systems apply and are being used to support good clinical practice and safe and effective prescribing for patients while the evidence base continues to be developed. The decision to prescribe medicinal cannabis is a clinical decision for specialist hospital doctors, made with patients and their families to determine the most appropriate medication or course of treatment for an individual patient. But I think it's important to show that this isn't just suddenly freely making cannabis available to children everywhere. This is a very specific procedure with lots of safeguards. And if anything, so many safeguards that people who do have a clinical need for it are struggling to get hold of it.
George saying freely, the whole word cannabis, if you took it out of that and just said there's a new revolutionary drug that's been developed that actually helps you, you'd be looking at it completely differently. The fact that you're saying cannabis, you've got this image of somebody hanging with a reef hanging out the face, right? It's not that, okay? They've taken all those qualities out of the product, okay? And it's been developed in such a way that you don't get addicted to it, you don't get hooked on it, you don't depend on it, okay?
I want to bring Majid in. I want to bring Majid. Let's just, Carol, let's just go to for a family for whom this is all too real. This is Steph and Don Parker, a clip from the Channel 4 documentary, Can Cannabis Save Our Son?
In an ideal world...
How's that, Magsy? Still hot?
I'd quite like to be able to bring those seizures down, improve his quality of life, and to be able to have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
And if 1 or 2 drops of oil could take these things out of his body, I'd be the happiest man alive.
Majid, I know you're itching to get back in on this, but there is research in Australia that says there can be... I do have to say, there are conflicting studies. You must allow that, Majid.
I have looked into this in detail, and I can assure you, at least...
But you will at least accept there are conflicting studies around?
No, I don't. No, and I'll tell you, let me answer the question. I'll explain why I don't.
OK.
There's something called old science and new science, right? So more research has been done since the study that indicated it may harm the brain. More research has been done. What they found is that on the underdeveloped brain, sort of the teenage and child brain, then it does affect. But on the adult brain, there is currently no evidence.
Right. Let me just bring in this. Let me bring in this graphic.
Wait. Before you do
that, I promise you're next, Carol.
And more importantly, harm is not a basis to ban anything, because alcohol is more harmful than cannabis. Smoking is more harmful than cannabis. So the assumption that harm itself should mean that we don't decriminalise it, I question in the first place.
So the latest research shows that 10% of regular cannabis users become addicted, and people like yourself who are advocating the use of it for recreational use, you can't keep quoting the Portugal study as a
heroin use.
But he was talking harm,
not addiction.
But they still give money out, don't they?
That's addictive. I'm not talking about addiction. I'm talking about harm.
But so people like yourself keep on quoting this Portugal study. Okay, the fact is, less people are dying of drugs because they've got a free policy on drugs, but more people are trying drugs like cannabis than ever before.
But his argument is on harm.
So what?
And
if they're trying
the people that we're talking about are already using lots of other medications by force, which also have side effects and carry the risk of harm. So it's not about recreational use, going from a neutral state to something that could be harmful. It's about having an illness that requires medication that has side effects and switching it for this, which maybe has...
NHS have a policy of testing every drug it uses in medical trials, and yet there is no medical trial on cannabis.
Well, then let's do one. But talking of recreational use, we need to take a recreational break.